Welcome back to the channel, everybody. You're joining me in Stavanger. We arrived in Norway, as you can see, the beautiful fjord right behind me. Actually, this view here isn't that amazing, really, compared to many of the views that you can get. But anyway, here we are in Stavanger. Lillian's with her colleagues right now. They're doing her new colleagues, should I say. They're doing some photos for the website because she's going to be working with them for a little while, which is nice. But we left the UK and went into France. Went straight over into Belgium and stopped in Bruges for the night, which was gorgeous. I've been there once before, wanted to show Lillian Bruges. She absolutely loved it. We went from Bruges into the Netherlands and then all the way over into Germany and stayed in Bremen. And that was a bit of a surprise because that city is absolutely stunning. So we had an evening there and some of the morning there in Bremen before we moved on from Bremen and went up to Flensburg, which is right on the Danish border. You can actually see Denmark from Flensburg. So we were there for an evening and the morning, which was nice. Nowhere near as nice as Bremen, but it was still nice. From there, we went up into Denmark and we stayed, well, we didn't actually stay in Aarhus, but we visited Aarhus to have a look around. Some friends of ours said you really need to have a look around there. So we popped in there, stayed there for a few hours, had a good look around, before we moved on up to Aalborg, which is fairly north in Denmark. We went from there up to Hirtshals in the morning, caught the ferry across to Kristiansand in Norway, stayed with some friends on the south coast of Norway before we headed up to Egersund, where our house is. And there's quite a lot of work to do on the house. It's 16 years since we lived there, so quite a bit needs to be done with the house. So it's going to be quite a bit of work that I'm going to be undertaking. But right now we're here in Norway, really enjoying it. Been to see my mother-in-law this morning. We arrived there just as a fire engine was pulling in and we thought, could that be going to her place? And it was. For some reason, her fire alarm thing had gone off, which is connected directly to the fire service. So they came out with a full team. There was no fire, there was nothing, it wasn't even burnt toast. So I don't know what was going on there, but that was kind of our introduction. So we've seen family and that's really lovely. And now we're kind of got to get settled in and start working on the house, and Lillian's going to start working with a new job. So it's all change, but bringing the bike with us was a good shout. Having it on the trailer and bringing it all the way through Europe worked out really, really well with no problems whatsoever. And it was really easy to tow with the car and the trailer was great. So that was brilliant. There was no issues. You can probably hear a load of work going on here. I'll show you in a second because there's a big kind of industrial bit here. This is the big kind of shipping bit of Stavanger. So this side here is where they do all the shipping bits and bobs, boat building and you name it, all sorts of stuff. Now Stavanger is a big kind of oil capital of Norway. So they've got an oil museum here. The whole city here is built up around the oil industry. So lots of people that live here work offshore or work in the oil industry in some way. So it's a big kind of oil district. So quite a wealthy part of the country, I would say. But really lovely, really lovely. It's so good to be here and to be here safely. So I got some riding to do here. I'm gonna have to kind of do that, do a bit of housework, do a bit of riding, bit of backwards and forwards. And for me to be able to work here, I've actually got to get my Norwegian visa sorted out, which is going to be a family, they call it a family reunion visa. So Lillian kind of moves here and then I apply to be able to come, all because of Brexit. What's that all about? What's that all about? Anyway, you'll get to see loads of video from around Norway and particularly around this district, Stavanger, Sandnes, Egersund, all of that. So I'm looking forward to showing you that. But we arrived safely, we're here, happy days. It's really not a bad place to be. Just a minute ago, there's a bunch of people jumping off this little like jetty diving board thing here. Don't know if you can see it. Let me move, there you go. And I gotta say, I don't think the water is that warm here. But the other day, when we stayed with some friends overnight, the first night we arrived here, and went to just a little lake kind of down the road from where they live, and I got in the water, jumped in. It was flipping freezing, but it made me feel good because that's what cold water does for you. It makes you feel good. Don't know why. Probably some scientific thing. Personally, I would prefer to have warm water and live a year less than go in cold water every day and live a year longer. That's the truth. Let me know how you feel about that in the comments. Oh, there's a message here. Ikke stup her. It's not deep enough apparently, so I'm not gonna dive right now. So one of the really cool things about riding through Europe, which I really liked, was the fact that even though I had a fairly kind of nickable setup really, I do have like a padlock thing that goes over. Hang on, it's Lilian. You want me to come up and be like a patient in the clinic?
Yeah.
As like and get photographed doing it?
Bara armen din da.
Just my arm?
Så.
All right.
Du skal liksom fjerne tatoveringen.
Fair enough, I can do that. I'm on my way up.
Det er ikke sikkert de bruker det, men det
that's fine.
Med noe sånt.
Yeah.
Kanskje bilder av meg i action.
We can do pictures of you in action. All right, babe, I'm just on my way.
Okay.
Bye. All right, okay, well, you heard that. Basically, Lilian, they've got a photographer up there right now, and they need some action pictures of Lilian doing some stuff in the clinic. So I'm gonna be like the patient. Anyway, as I was saying, I've got like this lock thing that goes over the lock part of the trailer, if you know what I mean, the bit that connects to the tow bar. So you can't actually get it off, but you know, a determined person, if you've got an angle grinder, you just get through it in no time. And it could have been easily nicked, really easily nicked, but you know, no one messed with it, nothing whatsoever. And I'm just not entirely sure, maybe I'm wrong. I feel like maybe there's a bit more opportunist theft that goes on in the UK. Now maybe nobody wants a 1995 Triumph Thunderbird 900 that is, you know, it's not showroom condition. But even so, you just felt like it was a bit safer through Europe. You know, I just parked it up. Sometimes I took it off the car and left it at the hotel so we could drive the car into town. So it just feels like it's a bit safer, if you know what I mean. What's your thoughts on that? Have you had your bike nicked? I've never had a bike nicked, never had a car nicked, or have I? No, I haven't. So you kind of feel like whenever I've been going down through Europe, you know, last time I did a little ride, or the time before last did a little ride, and I just left my bike with all the bags on it and everything, and no one messed with it, so not sure if that would happen in the UK. Anyway, I've just arrived up at this clinic, so I'm gonna go on in and see what this is all about. So that was a bit of fun. I was the real life model for Lilian. She was being photographed for some pictures on the website, the company website. And she was doing a fake laser tattoo removal on my arm, because I got a tattoo here, just the one that I had done in Bulgaria about 20 years ago or something like that. I've just dropped her off at IKEA, as you can see. It's about as Scandinavian as you could get. She's got to pick up a mattress because we got nothing to sleep on right now. I personally can't do IKEA. So when Lilian goes to IKEA, she goes alone because I can't handle it. It freaks me out, it drives me nuts for some reason. So that's where she is. And now I'm gonna go and find a cafe. You can hear the flags flapping about, the IKEA flags flapping about in the background. Now I'm gonna go and find a place to sit because I need to do some editing. Lots of editing.